Underground Crypto.
Hey, it's the Underground Crypto back at it again. So for today's show, yesterday's show we talked about Bitcoin potentially going to 200,000. We talked about a little bit about inflation, the world's money, and how it's all possible with trillions of dollars out there. Inflation on the rise. So today we're going to talk about Bitcoin. Can it reach $1 million per Bitcoin in 2025, 2029, before 2030? This was brought up. I'm going to play a video where Anthony Pompliano mentioned this could be possible. Now, we have to think now, is he just a Bitcoin maximalist? Just pro-Bitcoin? Or is he making sense? That something we need to listen to. Because when Bitcoin was $10, they say, hey, Bitcoin will never reach 10,000, never reach 20 or 40. And we've seen 40,000 pass just like that. And if Bitcoin potentially could get to 1 million by 2025 or 2029, where does that land Stellar XLM if you got a big bag? Or if you got a big bag of ADA? Potentially a lot of millionaires out there by that time. Even sooner. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to touch on inflation a little bit deeper. So we're going to look at inflation, what the current inflation rate is. So that's going to be the show for today. So as a reminder, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, comment for the 500 XLM giveaway. I haven't selected anyone yet as part of the 100 XLM for this week. I think I'll be doing that next week coming up, or this week that we're in, starting Monday. So subscribe for the chance to win. All right, so if we look at the cryptocurrency today, Bitcoin took a dip, 7% on the day. So we were seeing 41,000, and I saw it dropped all the way down, I think, potentially to 34,000. I'm not sure if that's accurate. I think I did see that. So it did take a big dip. So that's why it's important here, right? So you have your 3 cryptocurrency revenue streams. And folks that are doing the swing trades, even though that is profitable, you can get liquidated. So say if you bought in at 38,000 and it dropped down to 34,000, you might get liquidated. All the money in your account wiped out. So this is, you diversify with having an automated approach to get Bitcoin. No worries there. And you're hodl. It's going to go up and down, but you're not trading. You're holding on to it. So this is the approach, not financial advice, not a financial advisor, for entertainment purposes only, that you want to achieve to. All right, so let's go back here. So as you can see with Bitcoin, when Bitcoin drops, it's like the others drop. Right, so we could see ETH dropped a bit. Cardano still in the 10th spot, down to 27 cents and everything. So still holding strong there. But that's the volatile world of Bitcoin. This is why not all the players, not all the whales, not all the corporations want to jump in yet. Once they feel a little bit more comfortable, we're going to see these prices really take off even more. And I think potentially regulation can help with that. So if we go back to inflation. So we talked about yesterday the 4 types of inflation. Creeping mild inflation. Price rises 3% a year or less. And then the zombie inflation, 3 to 10%. So let's look at what we're currently at. And this is from usinflationcalculator.com. So they mention here the annual inflation rate for the United States is 1.2% for the 12 months ended November 2020. The next inflation update is scheduled for release on January 13th, 2021 at 8:30 a.m. It will offer the rate of inflation over the 12 months ended December 2020. So this is a date we have to lock in and see what the new inflation rate is. So we can see here, 2020 is 1.2%. 2019 was 2.3%. So it did go down. And back in 2011, we can see here it was 3%. So it was in the zombie inflation. So we can kind of like forecast what would happen if we get into that zombie inflation rate, right? So let's look back in 2011, what happened. So back in 2011, this is from money.cnn.com. Biggest rise in consumer price index in 3 years. So if we look at this article here, it says the consumer price index, the government's key measure of inflation at the retail level, jumped 3.9% in September from the year before. Higher food and energy prices again were the biggest culprits, with food 4.7% more expensive than a year earlier and energy prices jumping 19.3%. So history has a way of repeating itself, right? That's what they say. So if we do jump to 3%, this is what we're going to see. Food being more expensive. Energy being more expensive. And I did see a video on this that said April, May, we're going to see gas and food prices jump. So if you're in the commodity world, that's a good bet there, not financial advice. So this is something that we could potentially see here. And this is 2011, and this may have been a reason why, because this is around the time, I think a year before this, where Bitcoin was born. Right around this time, 2010, 2011. Speaking of 2021, from Bloomberg.com, they mentioned the inflation debate that's roiling U.S. markets faces 2021 test. So this article says they're still in the minority, but investors and economists who think America is in for a bout of inflation, perhaps a serious one. The incoming Biden administration would likely prop up household spending with more financial aid, and in the background, the dollar has been weakening and commodity prices rising steadily for months. Still, in the predominant view among economists, including the Federal Reserve, is that it will be years before the U.S. has to worry about inflation. Now, are they trying to tell us, hey, don't worry about anything, keep on going about what you're doing, don't worry about it, it's all good? Or should we take note of this? The highest global debt. We're still spending trillions and trillions of dollars, and that's going to continue. Trillions. Why should we not worry about it? I don't know. I think it's something we should worry about. And this is why we see Bitcoin booming. Because others are worried about it. The investors are worried about it. It's a hedge against inflation. They're dumping the money over in Bitcoin. So there is something to worry about. And they put out articles like this to make you not, don't worry about it. It's all good, buddy. No. All right, so I'm going to play a video now. We're going to go back to the main topic of this. So we touched on inflation a little bit. 1 million per Bitcoin in 2025, 2028, 2029. Is that possible? So Anthony Pompliano mentioned this in another interview. So I played him on the last video. So we're going to play another clip where he said this is possible. $1 million per Bitcoin. Where right now it's 37,000. And if we do get to a point where Bitcoin is 1 million per Bitcoin, the crypto market cap would be smashing. And that would be a 10x on gold. Gold right now, the value is 10 trillion. So Bitcoin would have to, this was back in June, May of 2020, now it's 1 trillion. We're talking 100 trillion in Bitcoin? But what we did see, right, there's 100 trillion alone in the United States. In China, we can see there's a lot of money. All right, so we're going to play the video and we're going to debate on if we think Anthony Pompliano is a Bitcoin maximalist and he thinks it's Bitcoin or the highway, or is he making some sense? And what does that mean for Stella, the sleeping giant?
Bitcoin soaring to new record highs today, the cryptocurrency cracking the $40,000 mark for the first time in history before pulling back. And check this out. In the last month, Bitcoin has doubled while gold has been left in the dust. Let's talk more about this big break. Joining us now is Morgan Creek Digital Assets founder Anthony Pompliano. Anthony, Happy New Year. Always great to speak with you.
Absolutely. Happy New Year to you too.
JP Morgan came out with a note just the other day. 146,000 was the price target on Bitcoin. And one of their major theses in that note was that it would be a replacement for gold. And I'm just curious because it seems...
So two big things there. Yesterday's video, we said 200,000 for Bitcoin. And JP Morgan is saying 146,000, so not that far off. The other thing is replacement for gold. That's pretty, not sure about a replacement for gold. Gold's at 10 trillion right now, but you never know.
Seems like all of the other bullish reasons behind Bitcoin have disappeared, and now it's primarily the store of value. Can it continue at the pace that you think it should go with just that one thesis?
Yeah, I think, look, one of the key pieces here is why is JP Morgan so conservative, right? If you really think about in the technology world, we talk about 10x improvements in products. Bitcoin is at least 10x better than gold in every way. And so I think that if you just think of a Bitcoin product that is 2x better and market cap kind of follows that, that would put Bitcoin at $1 million a coin, right? Just 2x gold's market cap. And the key piece here, when I say those numbers, they kind of shock people, but we have to remember that both gold and Bitcoin are sound money principles. Gold is the analog application of sound money principles. Bitcoin is the digital application of sound money principles. And there is not a single digital product that replaced an analog product, but yet is still smaller than those analog products. The digital product is always bigger. And so I think it's a foregone conclusion at this point that not only is Bitcoin's market cap going to flip gold, it's just a question of how much bigger is it going to be? Is it going to be 2x bigger, 5x bigger, 10x bigger? I don't think we know, and the timeline is a question, but it's a foregone conclusion, in my opinion, that not only is Bitcoin a 10x improvement on gold, and the market cap is going to flip it at some point in the future.
How does that $1 million price target, if you want to call it that, change? Because right now we're talking about the replacement for gold. In the corporate world, it's also a replacement for cash these days because of what's going on with the U.S. dollar. So is that, would that be a kicker on top of that $1 million price target, which is already so jaw-dropping?
Yeah, I mean, look, from where we are today, it's about a 20x increase, right? And the other piece of this that I think is really important to understand is that every single...
So that's a correction on my part. He's saying 20x of where Bitcoin's at right now. to make it 1 million per Bitcoin. But still feasible with where we saw the money around the world, where all the money's at, trillions of dollars.
Corporation, both in the United States and outside the U.S., is going to put Bitcoin into their treasury. They're going to have to. We are watching central banks around the world stuff the economy with liquidity, and people are running around saying, how do I protect the purchasing power? And so gold has served that purpose in some treasuries, but I think Bitcoin is just being underestimated. The fact that every single company that's publicly traded or private is going to end up putting Bitcoin in that treasury, that is a wall of demand that people just aren't accounting for.
And he sounds pretty confident about it, too. You know, you look at people and see if they're not really that confident about it. He's pretty confident that all the corporations have to get Bitcoin in their portfolio. Maybe he knows something that we don't know.
So as we're seeing today, just Wall Street institutions are showing up yet. Corporations really haven't shown up yet. And Bitcoiners don't want to sell the Bitcoin. And so you have this imbalance between supply and demand, and it's led to this rapid price increase because that's the only way you can accommodate everyone. The Wall Street institutions have to keep bidding higher and higher in order to solicit Bitcoiners to sell that Bitcoin. When the corporations show up, they're going to have to bid it higher and higher. Now, it's important to also talk about there will be volatility along the way. There will be 20, 30% drops. Sometimes they'll be very rapid. Sometimes they may be prolonged. But over a long period of time, I think that saying that Bitcoin will be equivalent to gold's market cap is just being overly conservative, and it's likely to eclipse it, sometime in the 2020s. So before 2030, we'll see that happen.
That's why we had here 2025. Can that happen? 1 million per Bitcoin. And we did see here the volatility is real. Bitcoin was up 41,000 and then swung down, a big swing down here. But overall, we can see how it's just climbing. It's not really even a blip on this chart, the overall chart. All right, let's continue with this and we'll wrap it up.
Hey, Anthony, it's Dan, and that all makes perfect sense to me. I just have a question about that volatility. If we think about a lot of our viewers are stock market investors, and they're obviously very interested in the price action in Bitcoin, and you make a very good case for it. But the last two sell-offs in the stock market, we've seen Bitcoin really get hammered. Back in late 2018, Bitcoin got cut in half from much lower levels, I think around 6,000. And then when we sold off this year, about 35% in the S&P 500, Bitcoin peak to trough at a 62% decline. Now, granted, it's far, far higher here. Do you expect that sort of volatility and correlation to the equity markets going forward?
Yes, I think we've got to separate out. Over long periods of time, Bitcoin is a non-correlated asymmetric asset. In very short periods of time, so March of 2020 was a great example. During a liquidity crisis, every asset sold off. Gold sold off, equity sold off, Bitcoin sold off. And so I definitely think that there can be levels of correlation in short periods of time where there's liquidity crisis or there's high degrees of uncertainty. But over a long period of time, Bitcoin has proven to be not only non-correlated, but also the fastest horse or the most asymmetric asset available. And so if you're an investor and you're looking to get out of dollars and looking for where to put your money and you don't have exposure to Bitcoin, I think you're making a mistake. How much you should put into Bitcoin, that's, each person is different or each organization, but you've got to get off zero exposure. You've got to get exposure to this asset, and then you've got to have a long time preference, and I think that it'll turn out pretty well for you.
All right, so he's a Bitcoin maximalist to the fullest. So let me know your thoughts. Can Bitcoin get to 1 million in 2025? Stellar XLM. At that point, $20, $30, $40, $50. So hold on to your Stellar XLM bag. Not financial advice, but hold on. We could be in for a big ride. Get your moon suit ironed up. All right, that's a wrap for today. Let me know your thoughts. 1 million per Bitcoin, 2025, is it possible? Thanks a ton for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for the 500 XLM giveaway. Stand clear of the closing doors. The next stop for Stella is the moon. Let's get it.
We don't have that much competition. they would use Stellar to make their payments faster.